When I heard about the opportunity to present at TEDxCarroll, I knew that I wanted to talk about human and animal interactions, specifically interspecies communication, or what I like to call the language within us. This language within us is the interspecies communication and the synergistic benefits that we receive through the interactions that we have with the species with whom we've co-evolved. Let me start with the story. Over the course of my life, like so many others, I've been through some tough times. I lived abroad for a year in high school and came back with what felt like a higher maturity than most of my peers. But I also came back with trauma, which soon developed into post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Over the past couple of years, I have, at different times, worked with a specialized trauma therapist for a while, but I struggled to tell him really how I felt. Like a lot of other trauma survivors, I wanted nothing more than to put my trauma in a box and lock it away into a dark closet and just get on with my life. So, after a few months, I assured my therapist and my family that I was okay. Honestly, that was a lie. Today, I still struggle with certain situations, certain feelings, and flashbacks. But at that time, I didn't want anyone to worry about me. I continued with this untreated trauma until I came to Carroll College. And during last semester, I was given the chance to take part in an equine-assisted therapy group focused on resiliency. To be honest, participating in the sessions was a bit nerve-wracking at first. First of all, there was the stranger effect. I was with a group of students, and I didn't really know many of them. Second of all, we were to be paired with a horse that called to us personally. And at that time, I didn't have much experience with horses, so I wasn't quite sure what this meant at first. In the end, however, I was paired with a horse, a mare, about my height, named Doc, who gave me sort of a motherly energy. On the first day that we were together, I thought that she wanted little to nothing to do with me. The human standing beside her who she didn't know, the human standing beside her who was struggling to express complicated emotions to people that she didn't know. About midway through these equine-assisted therapy sessions, the topic of trauma became a focus. Of course, I wasn't keen on letting everyone know just how damaged I was. So I turned my back to the group, and I kept my teary eyes on Doc. I let my hand rest on her shoulder, and I let her warmth and just her presence there comfort me. As the topic was developed further, another student became brave enough to express some strong emotions. And along with the comfort of Doc, and the relief of knowing that I wasn't the only one who was struggling with this topic, I turned back to the group, now with the courage to express how I was affected. As I did so, I felt Doc slide away from my side and my hand grow cold. My anchor had left me alone again. The loneliness of my experience abroad flooded back anew. But not half a minute later, as I was standing there and I was speaking my truths, I felt a firm bump on the back of my arm. I lifted it up and I turned around. It was Doc. She calmly moved her strong, warm body between me and the rest of my peers. I hadn't felt this protected and comforted in years. Was it something that I expressed? Perhaps my tone of voice, my clenched jaw, my shaking hands? Tell Doc that in that moment, that I needed to be protected and comforted? Did we communicate with one another in an unspoken but unmistakable way? As I was preparing for this opportunity to talk with you all today, I recalled another animal in my life who I believe understood me through some form of communication, body language, facial expression, racing heart, another kindred spirit who came to my aid in a time where no human cared enough or knew enough to reach out to me. During my time abroad, at the height of my traumatizing experience, I lived with a family who owned a dog named Cachorro. One day, when I was left locked behind a gate that I couldn't open, home alone, and trapped by a bureaucracy of power that I couldn't fight, I sat alone on the stairs, and I allowed myself to express some very strong emotion, without fear of anyone in the family hearing me. But someone did hear me. Cachorro did. He came up and he sat beside me while I shook with emotion, and he offered me only what he could, a warm, fuzzy shoulder to cry on and to speak to without threat of judgment. How many people in this room have a pet? Dog, cat, horse, guinea pig? And how many people in this room believe that they have had the experience of, or that they have the ability to communicate with their pet? Well, I'm here to tell you today that what you experience with your beloved pet is not mere anthropomorphizing. Both species are achieving this interspecies communication through our tone of voice, our facial expressions, and our body language. There are two certain species that evolved alongside humanity. They've helped us, guided us, and comforted us in their own ways during our shared evolution beside them, namely dogs and horses. But let's take a step back in time. Humans evolved approximately 6 million years ago when our last common ancestor lived with the chimpanzees with whom we still coexist with today. 2.5 million years ago, the evolution of Homo sapiens began in South Africa. And during our evolution, our bodies changed from that of the other animals in some very specific ways. The most important of which being, we were endowed with bigger and better brains. And over our evolution, we developed stronger and larger social structures, our brains continued to grow, and we started to thrive as a species. So, are we not just animals? We evolved over thousands of years, just like the other animals with whom we still share the earth. We are of the kingdom Animalia, just like dogs, cats, horses, and your other pets. Yet some people believe that we are somehow different from the rest of the animal kingdom. Some people believe that we hold a higher level of understanding of socialization, emotion, and the ability to innovate and adapt. But how did we get here? Certainly not alone. Over the course of our evolution, we've perhaps inadvertently partnered with other select species to gain higher ground in the prehistoric food chain. And as we evolved, these partner species also evolved, namely, once again, horses and dogs. But how did this occur? Was it because humans had some strange ability to effectively communicate with the animals around us? Or was it perhaps due, in fact, to certain species that have co-evolved alongside us, holding the key to this language within us? Is this communication just our imagination, or rather, something so deeply buried within us that it's been forgotten over time? Let's think about it, starting with domestication and dogs and horses' predisposition to connect with how we humans communicate. Now, there are a plethora of theories of how dogs and humans became as codependent on one another as we are today. Were we mutual hunters, or one scavenging after the other? Or perhaps some friendly man saw a wolf pup and decided to raise him. There's been evidence that dogs have been buried with humans throughout history. So we know that at some point, humans and the first dogs became interested in one another. And perhaps all the theories could be correct in their own way. No matter, obviously at some point, both species decided to band together for mutual benefit. And horses and humans also became deeply intertwined over time as well. Again, there are many theories that still surround how and when exactly our species began to interact. But nonetheless, humans and horses have evolved a lot during our shared time together. What most likely began as humans using horses for hides, meat, and manure in the Stone Age quickly evolved to humans using horses to aid in transportation, trade, agriculture, to wage war, and play games. But the key difference, and the reason that I have a black lab instead of a pet ostrich, lies within the brains and behaviors of these magnificent animals. As humans were striving to become as advanced as we are today, so were the horses and dogs we had by our side. We worked together perfectly, in part perhaps due to our similar social structures. Humans are a perfect middle ground, a mix of apex predator and weak prey animal. As apex predators like dogs, humans developed specific social systems to help in aiding in hunting and scavenging, using vocal tones to tell one another what needed to be done. And while neither you nor I can speak dog, Multiple studies have shown that dogs are able to distinguish human language and can therefore better comprehend human speech. A study published on the website Frontiers in Neuroscience found that dogs are able to detect and distinguish certain human words quite accurately, even if presented with another word that sounded similar to their target word. There have also been studies of the human and the canine brain, and they have found striking similarities, including similar areas in our brains that respond to vocal cues and sounds. Moreover, there have been studies that have looked into how dogs can read human facial expression as we interact with them and react accordingly. I believe Kashoho, the dog that I met abroad, was able to read my facial expression and understand my vocal cues to understand what I needed from him. And when considering prey animals like the horse, well, you may have noticed, neither horses nor humans were endowed with big fangs and scary claws. Instead, we both have complex social structures. Horses don't waste much time making vocalizations and taking part in useless conversations. Instead, they developed the keen ability of reading one another's body language, facial expression, and eye contact to know one another's intentions. Humans also take part in reading one another's facial expressions, gestures, and body postures. Multiple studies posted in a variety of academic journals have found that with horses' keen ability of reading body language, a skill crucial to communication, they're able to tell us things about ourselves that we may not be able to see by mirroring what they see in us. I believe that this was displayed by Doc during the resiliency session that I previously described. As proven through time, both horses and dogs were willing and able to be tamed and bred while in captivity, which, over the time span of many generations, led to their successful and thriving domestication. These animals offered us an abundance of benefits, including, but not limited to, protection, status, and companionship. And in return, we perhaps unknowingly offered them similar benefits, including, but of course not limited to, protection, care, sources of food, and the opportunity to help their populations thrive. Today, we still benefit from these interactions that have grown between horses and humans and dogs and humans. Biologically, when you interact with your faithful companion, you gain certain benefits. For example, when you get home from a stressful day at work and you greet your dog as he comes to see you at the door, your cortisol levels decrease, and so do your dog's. Therapy practices that incorporate therapy animals, take part in equine-assisted therapies, etc., all demonstrate just how beneficial this human and animal interaction can be. There are also multiple programs already in place that have shown how mentally beneficial interspecies communication is. For example, the local read program at our Helena schools, where children can sit and read aloud to dogs, have found that the children's reading competency and overall academic performance increases after these interactions. And of course, there are social benefits that come along as well. Today, a lot of people label themselves in a way that shows the relationship that they have with their pet. For example, dog people, like me, who are stereotypically more outgoing and vocal. A study in France in 2007 found that your overall quality of life improved when you had a pet dog, because that pet dog became a social lubricant and allowed for commonplace affiliations to become even more common. With this non-judgmental but powerful ally by your side, no matter what size, horse or dog, you can relate to others with whom you share this furry commonality. Service animals are also another great example. The communication that must occur between a certified service animal and its owner is more finely tuned than other animals. Then, of course, there are ESAs, or the emotional support animals. Those individuals who benefit from their comfort in hard times cherish them deeply. Again, being able to talk to someone who won't judge you and loves you in all situations can be a powerful asset to healing and flourishing. With Doc the horse, as I mentioned, I believe that I was able to experience just how powerful this human and animal bond can be. Perhaps in the beginning, when I thought she wanted nothing to do with me, perhaps she was mirroring something in me and telling me something about myself that I couldn't see, until my body language told her that I needed her help, and then she chose to provide it. And as for Kashoho, who also came to my aid, I believe something that I communicated to him told him that I needed him by my side. Even if I'm not quite ready to talk about my trauma with others openly yet, I don't believe I would hold the same level of healing that I do today without the interaction and the intervention of Doc and Kashoho in my life. Their understanding and their communication with me. These animals offered me a chance to relearn how to walk forward again, filling in those places where I was damaged by trauma, through their intrinsic ability to communicate and unlock this language within us, the language within you and me. Fortunately, I do think we are beginning to understand the importance of these relationships, interactions, and conversations. Anthrozoology, the ever-evolving study of human and animal interactions and relationships, gives us a chance to delve deeper into these mysteries. And this is what I'm currently studying here today at Carroll College, alongside psychology. Through the opportunity of my education, I seek to understand both the human and the animal mind. I want us to be able to access and grow this language within us. This is just the beginning. And if you care about your beloved pets, other animals, their well-being, and our well-being as humans, I implore you to look into the field of anthrozoology for yourself. In time, perhaps we'll discover even more ways that we communicate with our faithful companions through research and self-discovery. It all lies in our hands, their hooves, and their paws. Only with humans working beside animals, synergistically seeking to understand one another, can we finally rediscover and set free this language within us. Thank you.